This book of Habakkuk, this book reflects exceedingly traumatic time in Israel's history. Not long before the mighty Assyrian army destroyed one city after another one, brutally killing people. And we know that not long after that, Habakkuk was written. Not long after Habakkuk was written, the Babylonians under King Nebuchadnezzar would 3 times attack Jerusalem, taking the leaders and skilled citizens into exile. And in 587 BCE, destroying the city and the temple. So indeed, you might be able to see from those pictures, the violence is all around. In this context of violence, we hear Habakkuk's lament. "O Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not listen?" In the midst of this nightmare, the only thing the prophet can do is to help his people voice their pain, to help his people to cry out the anguish they are experiencing. How long, O God, how long? This is the question that Christian faith must ask. It is very shallow faith if it does not ask those questions. Where some people worry that asking a question like that, maybe that is like opening a door to not believing in God at all. But the people of the Bible do ask. They ask directly and bluntly. The questions asked over and over again in the Psalms. Silence of God, the absence of God is a major theme of Scripture and the common struggle in our Christian life. And COVID-19 has been an unexpected storm. And if we are looking for guidance on how to handle unexpected storms in life like that, we should look no further than to the prophet Habakkuk. In the 3rd chapter of this short book, Habakkuk drafts God-given framework of how to weather the life's unexpected storm. Where Habakkuk is prophet of faith, and his name means that I get the resources. It means embrace, or one who strongly enfolds, and it of course means wrestles, I believe. And he tells us nothing about himself except he was a prophet from the book. And we may we may guess Habakkuk was from Habakkuk 3, that he had to do arranging lots of things at the temple. Probably he was a Levite, the part of the leading that worship in the temple. And most prophets speak to the people, but Habakkuk speaks to God. He may have written his book in the 7th century BCE, but he's asking some of the same question that us people in the church are asking today. How can a good God allow evil? How does the God not seem to answer when I cry out to him? Habakkuk teaches us that we can reflect on Lord's past faithfulness, that we can trust God with our futures even when God doesn't make sense. And the basic structure of this book is relatively straightforward. The book can be outlined broadly in 5 sections. From verse 1 to 4 in chapter 1, Habakkuk's future question, first question, asking, why don't you, God, do anything about the evil in Judah? 5 to 11, God's first answer, he says, I am. And verse 12 to chapter 2 and 1, Habakkuk's second question, how can you use people more wicked than us to judge us? Go on, God's second answer comes, I will judge them too. And then Habakkuk's prayer of faith, I will rejoice and trust in you. That's the final bit of this small book. And the chapter 2 contains war, 5 wars, WOEs, against these prideful Chaldeans. These are the tone songs God says. These tone songs God says will be sung by the victims, mocking them for the judgment they will receive for their particular transgressions. The Peterson, one of the Old Testament scholar, artfully summarizes these sins as plundering, plotting, pillaging, perverting, and being polytheistic, using all those P words. Habakkuk's prayer song in chapter 3 could also be divided into three small units, verse 1 to 2, 3 to 15, and 16 to 19. Interestingly, Habakkuk is the only Old Testament book consisting entirely of the dialogue, conversation between God and a man. Other prophetic books, they consist mainly of the record of the prophet's message to the people. This book, it is about conversation. Habakkuk moves from burden to blessing, from wonder, worry to worship, from restlessness to rest, from the focus on the problem with God to focus on the person of God, and from complaint to consolidation. Instead of complaining, he is praising the Lord. The saying, the just shall live by the faith. Just shall live by the faith. It is a familiar one to us Christians. It originally comes from this book, Habakkuk 2:4, which says, Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And this verse is quoted in several places in the New Testament. In Romans, for therein is the righteousness of God revealed from face to face. There I just shall live by faith. And Galatians 3:11, no man is justified the law, the just shall live by the faith. And that is quote from Habakkuk. And the Hebrews 10:38, now justice shall live by faith. And that is also quote from Habakkuk. And most importantly, we know Martin Luther Reformation, and you would know sola, justice by faith. And Martin Luther, Martin Luther has got the idea from this small book, Habakkuk. And the prophet points forward to the day of Christ, when the earth shall be full of knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea, as in our second bit of our reading today. Habakkuk's lament joined the laments from all around the world, in which people have found the words to name their situation of violence and injustice in their lives, so they could resist whatever is threatening their well-being and happiness. One of the examples I found, toward to the end of the World War II, in that challenging time, during the liberation of Europe, the soldiers found this written inscription on the walls of basement in Cologne. It's a city of Germany, and there were people who were hiding from Nazi Gestapo. So these is Jewish people hiding from this threat, and they have written that in the wall of their small room. It reads, I believe in the sun even when it is not shining. I believe in the love even when I do not feel it. I believe in God even when He is silent. And this short message became very popular, and there was a song written, I Believe, which I'm going to link in my message on our website. This is really lovely song. Please have a listen. And that song is based on that message the Jewish people written in their difficult time. Silence of God descended upon the cross on Good Friday, and on the morning of third Sunday, the sun rose upon the empty tomb. Habakkuk reminds us believers centuries later how important it is to keep on believing in God that will bring deliverance. And this belief in God's ability to make an end to the violence is precisely the reason why the book Habakkuk was banned in Nazi Germany. They have banned, they stopped to be read this book because the idea that God will end the unjust power considered too dangerous to be tolerated for them. The Nazi Germany banned that book. And the book Habakkuk also in South Africa's history. South Africa's history served as an important source of resistance against the apartheid regime of the time. So when that apartheid regime was very strong, they actually stopped this book to be read in those days. God hears the cries of those who are suffering under the yoke of unjust regime and will bring the end to the violence. And good news for those who are being oppressed, not so good news for those who are abusing their power. However, the examples from apartheid South Africa or the Nazi regime, those examples show us that the situation of violence can last many years. They could last many decades. And also in our personal lives, we may find ourselves in a situation of pain, situation of suffering without an end. Even that beautiful confession of faith with which Habakkuk ends, which also Anne quoted at the beginning, that acknowledges that situation of violence, situation of suffering is long not over. It could last long. The fig tree does not blossom. There are no fruit on the vine. There are no livestock in the stall. And yet, wonderful thing about the Habakkuk's confession is that we believer can still say, I believe in a God that gives me strength. God does not choose. He does not choose to love us or place His faith in us when we are at our best. Rather, she chooses to love when we are at our worst, when there is no indication that we will ever return that love back to God. It is a decision more than desire. And at times during our faith life, and especially during challenging time, we are going to need to make a decision of our own, to place our faith, place our trust in God even when we do not see any evidence of God's deliverance. So as we face the challenges of today and challenges of tomorrow, we have a choice to make. We can make choice. My prayer is that we will follow the example of the prophet Habakkuk. We choose faith. We choose trust in God. We choose trust in Him even when we see no sign of God. We choose joy recognizing that God is at work. God is still continuing even now in our lives and in His Word. So may God grow us. May God help us grow these deeper roots of faith. Well, the study material for last week's Philemon is available on our website. And as a last book for this short series, Malachi, it has only 4 chapters. Actually, it's a bit shorter than this book, Habakkuk. Please like to encourage to read that book before you come next week. And hopefully you feel that you have learned something through this series and finishing next week. Thank you.